This is where the fun begins.
Jedi is something that came a little later. When we started building Jedis, we had a lot of Jedis, and we needed more and more Jedis. As we were doing them toward the end, we ended up with a lot of Jedis that looked like people that worked at ILM, with these short little haircuts and looked like they stepped out from behind a computer. And so I was saying we have to get more exotic Jedis, and so we only have so much resources to do these things with, but I do have Twi'leks because we use them quite a bit in other areas in the Senate and as background action. So I have a sort of a wardrobe and a setup of certain kinds of characters. So it was a way of reinventing some of those characters. And I had realized that we had a comic book that has a Twi'lek in it that is a Jedi. There's a whole series actually of her. And I said, well, why don't we put her in this? I mean, she's a comic character, but we'll just fit her in and have her be a background character because that's exotic. That's how the Twi'lek Jedi ended up in the backgrounds of these shots, was to try to use some of the work and effort that the guys in the comic book world had put into things and characters they had created.
And I've always leaned towards if we're going to create something, we should check and see if it existed already to the fans, because it has way more value if we bring that in. And It's like, why would I just replace it with something new? So if we're going to do an admiral, if we're going to do a big military leader, yeah, I could create a new guy, sure. But what about Thrawn? Thrawn is great.
CAF. Lots of it. For me and for the ready room. I have a feeling this mission is not one we can fly in our sleep.
Good morning, everyone, and how are you doing? And welcome to my channel, OG Star Wars. I see everybody's hopping on, and great. Man, already complaining about something now. But the clips, I guess, StreamYards was updated. So these clips take a little bit of while, they don't freeze up. You click on them, it's slow. So I'm thinking these clips are not being put on screen for you guys for the show, and they are. It's just the response from click to showing them has they're a little slow. So good morning. How are you guys doing? Welcome back. Man, it's crazy. This summer has been fucking crazy for CAF chat. From business, taking care of business, to family or self emergencies and stuff like that. I am just happy to be here with you now. And yeah, so welcome back to CAF chat. So we are going to get into our usual schedule. I did not see if there's any breaking news for Star Wars under Disney here as of this morning, but we are going to get into basically New Jedi Order. We're going to talk about the what do you call it? The battle. Excuse me. Oh, I need some coffee. Of the battle on Ebaq9. I think I said that right. With Star Wars, sometimes it's once you get the the final pronunciation, the true pronunciation, you really know how to pronounce it, right? So we're ending Destiny's Way so we can move on in the timeline. Man, 2 years of going through the new Jedi Order, this new Jedi Order renaissance. And you know what? I've been enjoying our conversations, our looking into the events per each novel within the timeline. Again, not talking about the novel in particular, but this is just where the event lies. And then we're also going to get into this rumor again of Filoni doing an Heir to the Empire movie. What do you guys think about that? And then Grey Jedi in the EU. So Disney associates or whatever are saying, and Disney themselves with their non-canon anime visions is saying, oh, we're bringing in the Grey Jedi from the expanded universe, or quote unquote legends. So what does that mean to you guys? Like this Grey Jedi. We all know that the perception of Grey Jedi is a fans one, right? It's from the fans. And they go into this thing of not being dark, not being light, but somewhere in between, hence gray. Kind of like an artist thing. You mix a black and a white, you're going to get a gray tone, right? So they're going into that, thinking it's that. But when you look into the lore, because the lore started, the EU started, and we're going to get into noting gray, are mentioning Grey Jedi, but it's not what the fans have perceived it as. Yes, it all started with Couture. We'll get into that. And also, it was also, also a lot of alsos. It was also mentioned in, what do you call it, Legacy. So, yeah, so we'll get into all of that and more. So how are you guys doing? I see people are hopping on still, and Rumble on the Rumble side too. So all my Rumbleites, hello, how are you guys doing? And come on, you guys here on YouTube, get over there, make a Rumble account, follow Gatekeepers Alliance, myself, Purist, Grizzy, Tim, Knights of Melvin. Get over there, support us on all the platforms, Now, I know I have said before that I will do one exclusive stream on Rumble with CAF Chat, and I will. And like I said, this summertime, with everything that's going on, has slowed me down significantly, and I can see it with the numbers and stuff. And hey, it is what it is. But I do want to add more. I do want to do more for the channel. So, but sometimes you have to get through those hurdles to really take off again. So there's those ebbs, the ebb and flow, the up and down, I guess you could say, the undulation of life, right? I know, going into creativity and as a dancer, the undulations. Yeah, belly dancer where, you're just like making the belly body movement of undulations. I don't know. That was weird. I know. So good morning, you guys. Let me see who's all hopping in here and saying hello. All right. So we have Purist on the Rumble side. What's up? How are you doing? And let's see here. It was all canon. Everything published was canon. I know. I thought I had that clip on here. I don't know what happened. I thought I put it on there a long time ago, but I guess I didn't. Maybe the intention was, and I never followed through. Smash the like and share the stream out. What's up, Vato? How are you doing? How are you today? And Conrado, all the way from the Philippines. All right. So good distances are more. And ever since we went through all the clans of the all right, let's see here. We have Iron Inquisitor. What's up? Now he, another person that I followed in my, we get to see them in the OT, or particularly episode, or we could say Return of the Jedi. Yeah, so George and his I wonder what I say, George in his mind, but I wonder, like, it's crazy. I wonder, like, that brilliance, and I wonder what goes on in that mind and like what he envisions, and and then you go into like, oh, wonder what that guy is attracted to, like, and all this other stuff. Like, you see what he creates, and you get that glimpse of this brilliance and this craziness that is masterful behind creativity and stuff. So I can't wait till the museum opens. I'm hoping I can make it down there for the grand opening, or at least during that first week, and check it out. I almost want to write and to like their PR there and see if I can get a media pass and go in there and do some interviews and stuff. I wonder if I can get that done. Should I manifest that and then report it here on the channel? That'd be fucking amazing, and you could call me a George Lucas shield. I don't care. As long as it's not for Disney, right? As long as it's not for Disney and Disney, Lucasfilm, Disney, Star Wars. All right. So hello, Diddly Squats. How are you doing? Oh, wow. So this last week, the week that I missed when I was gone on trip, man, that was crazy. So I intended to still get on with the Gatekeepers Alliance to review our EFAP Vader 2, and usually hotels sometimes their internet can be somewhat glitchy but still usable. Not in my case where I went, and then so there was no sense of me connecting and keep falling out and sounding like a robot and just killing the fun of the EFAP of Vader 2. So I was really disappointed in that. So that means if I would have, and that was in the evening time. During the day it was okay, but during the evening time when the high volumes are up, everybody settled into the room and stuff like that. So, and I think there was a lot going on at that hotel for business wise. There was a lot of people there on business for various reasons and stuff. So it was really crazy. Really, really crazy. So yeah, but here I am. So I missed that, and I was bummed about that. I was kind of pissed a little bit because I was looking forward to it, hanging out with the guys. But it is what it is, right? So here I am. There was no CAF chat. I wasn't able to watch Vader 2 with the guys. And I know Purist, I guess he needed some stuff taken care of for his computer, which is running great now. So he missed out too. It was supposed to be hosted by him, I guess, or something. I don't know exactly. Like it all went a different direction. When they say pivot. And I've been watching clips of Friends, the Friends show. And there's one episode where they're taking a couch up to the apartment, and they're all that joke and that big old comedy scene of pivot kind of deal. We're always pivoting in life, right? We're always pivoting in life, and that's what I feel like I've been doing with this channel a little bit, not in a bad way, just adjusting. And family grew a little bit, and just adjusting and fitting everything in and smoothing things out. That's what life does, is that sometimes everything comes so easy and you got this like nice rhythm going on, and sometimes something can trip you off a little bit and you just have to get back up, right? You just got to get back up, no matter good or bad. All right. Not loading. Yeah. The clips were like, I guess there was the response time for it to show. And Quantum Cat says, good morning, good afternoon, and good day, right? And the Truman Show. The Truman Show. Interesting fact. Okay. My husband's name is Truman. His birthday is June 6th. So, yeah. And that's the day the Truman Show premiered. Isn't that crazy? So there you go. Okay. What's CAF? I need to put that clip here on my, okay, so that's another note I'm writing down. And Gerson, how are you doing? Let the past die. Kill it if you must. Yeah, kill it if you have to. Yep. Man, I'm almost done with my coffee. Derek is here. Hello, how are you doing? And then let's see here. And Gran, I can't say my Scot friend or Scran all the way from Scotland. He is here because now he is in the States. So again, welcome. And I know you've been adjusting, and I can't wait for your for you to pick up on your own rhythm. Like I said, you know, life takes us through stuff, bad, good, or whatever. I'm not dismissing anything. I'm not going to go into that little direction, but you know, life brought you here into the States, and it paused just your production some. But I can't wait to for you to get back on it, and you know, and communicate with the greater community and share and talk and discuss the novels and what have you. So I'm excited for that. And I also suggested to him maybe on his first stream of like, hello, I'm back, is maybe 30 minutes or so, and then maybe have a guest or two on just to have a conversation, you know, and getting the feedback in the pool of George Lucas era of Star Wars. Yeah, so thank you for coming in and hanging out. I always appreciate all of you guys. And Lucas Gerson, hello there, everyone. Force crush the like button, yes. And how did Sassy Tin, I butcher names sometimes, have a missing horn in the Clone Wars media project, but not in Revenge of the Sith? I have to go back and think about that. Sure. Yeah. Anybody want to answer that? Did he not have it? Did he have both of his horns? I know the story. I know there's a backstory. I think it grows back or something, right? For that species. I can hear my granddaughter playing in the room there, and she's pounding on the wall, and you could see her, and or hear her, and you could tell it like she's talking or in her own way singing, I guess. Anyways, you're gonna always hear a little bit bouts of that the baby. All right, so we it all started with the tour on the Grey Jedi, but again, it's not what people think. It's not what the fans created. We'll get into that. All right. There's a comic, I believe, where he got Bax treatment on the horn to keep continuity. Yeah. A back to treatment, you mean? Yeah. So I knew there's something of regenerating of the horn. Either the species grow back or it was taken care of medical wise. Let me see here. To Disney is like Grey Jedi equals gray lightsaber, and using both dark and light at the same time somehow. Right. We'll get into that. Gray Skywalker, gray boots. And Quiet Drawer, hello. Hey, real Star Wars time. You got that right. All right, and let's see here. Rule of 2 on the OG EU lore. 1 to detain the power, and 1 to desire the power. More than one student in suicide. No, I don't. I said the F word. The 2 weak princesses can betray the master too early on Disney diet. Oh, geez. What did I just read? That crazy dyad shit. I swear to God. I don't know. When that first was introduced and I heard about that and I looked into it a little bit more, I'm like, what the fuck are they doing now? I think it's the stupidest thing ever. Why change something that doesn't need to be fixed? Why fix something that doesn't need to be fixed, right? First time hearing about a dyad in the entire lore. Well, this is Disney lore. I'm not talking about George Lucas era lore because it doesn't apply there. But if a dyad thing was a thing, when you look into the aspect of the movies that they are saying is their foundation, which they fucked up completely. The foundation of the 6 movies, they fucked up completely. So how can, I'm saying this loosely, that it's their foundation. But how can this dyad thing exist when the movies don't even have any aspect of it, right? And I'm going to go there. The TCW doesn't have any bullshit like that either, right? So how can that exist when there's already concept and rules, aka the rule of 2, for the Force and for the Sith, right? Now I understand there's fucking evolution because we have the one Sith, but that's like hundreds of years later with a concept from Darth Krayt. But it has nothing to do with the Force having this dyad of good and bad coming together, or whatever the fuck that is, and creating that. I don't know. That's just me. I think it's fucking stupid. I mean, because if that's the case, you can't really say Leia is Luke's dyad. If you're gonna go down that fucking road, you're gonna create that for even the Skywalker twins and the reason why they're born twins, right? So it creates a lot of plot holes in a sense, little tiny ones that question. So there's these questions that pop up in my mind about this, and it makes me think of certain aspects of the movies, of the lore and stuff, and that's where you have these little errors, and they may be very, very minor, maybe, but with the rule of 2, it creates a huge plot hole. So that's something to discuss another time, but just gives you some things to think about when you're looking at the lore. Oh, but Star Wars is all one thing now under Disney, and it never was under the EU, so you get that people defending, well, if that's the case, then this dyad thing is full of shit from the beginning. But anyways, let me just now digress from that. All right, let's see here. What are you guys saying? JP is here. What's up, chat? What's up? How are you doing? Let's see here. And Mike is here. It was even worse than my lowest expectations. Ooh, that's bad. All right, T-minus 16 days. YouTube and the shills aren't ready. I'm so ready for it. I am so ready, my friends. All right. US or us or US? Is that what? Let me see. Let's see here. And I'm doing good, Derek says. Did you see Vader episode 2 by Theory? What a waste of time. No, I was gonna go hang out with the guys and watch it and stuff, but that didn't happen. So yeah, it's kind of bummed. Sounds good to me. Yep. Let's see here. And yeah, it regrew. That's what I thought. All right. I'm usually more invested in Clone Wars era, but rediscovering this era through your breakdowns is helping me to appreciate a lot more. All right. Let's see here. And Iron says, I hate that knockoff image of Assassin's Creed Assassin Edit to have lightsaber to represent the Grey Jedi. Oh yeah, I know. I was gonna pull that image up where it has the Sith, the Jedi, and the Grey Jedi. I was gonna do that, but is it the Sith or is it Dark Jedi? Anyways, I was gonna pull that image up. I didn't get it ready, so I don't have it ready to show. Let's see here. The guy who made the Assassin's Creed montage with orange lightsaber and mask to use as a Grey Jedi must be so proud of himself on how far this got to a forum post. It is being true. Yeah. And the Visions, we're going to go there, but Visions is a Disney Star Wars non-canon anime show. There you go. All right, let's see here. Who else is hopping on that I haven't had a chance to say hello to? Oh, good afternoon, everyone. And hey, Chio, how are you? All right. So with that being said, happy to be back. And we have a lot to in the future. There's a lot more. There's a lot of things we can discuss content wise, and then what Disney's bringing out for cringe factor, all of that. So we have all of that here and more coming up, as always. And I keep on saying this, and I want to do it, but because since life has been lifing, I haven't been able to start it. But I do want to do an every other Saturday Cantina nights, and hopefully bring on panel guests to talk and discuss Star Wars and what's going on and what have you. But I also want to do like Sunday dedicated to the art, my art. Start it here, but also create my own art channel as well. So those have been on the back burner since like a couple of months ago that I announced it or so. And like I said, life is lifing, and I want to get that shit started. So stay tuned for more. And because life has been lifing, I do have my swoops video. I need to finish editing and adding more images and get that up here, plus more. All right. So with that being said, let's get into our book of the week. Book of the week. Now, usually I give hints about it on my social media and stuff. And usually, I think by now, the book of the week and LucasFacts have been posted on Twitter. But usually the night before, I'll give little hints on what it's going to be. And I don't think I did this time. Let's see here. Here's my clip, and let's take a look on the book of the week.
I hate to say it, but it looks like
Story.
the item you're searching for doesn't exist.
Impossible. Perhaps the archives are incomplete.
If an item does not appear in our records, it does not exist.
It does not exist. All right, let's see here. So, book of the week. So, Allegiance by Timothy Zahn. I don't recall if I ever did this one, and I try to look back in all my data here on my computer, because some things I do save. I want to do a collage of all the book of the weeks that I've done so far. And then I use my Twitter account to look at images. And because my original account is gone, I can't look this up if I've used it in the beginning and the past. So, Allegiance. Again, author Timothy Zahn. Cover artist John Van Fleet. And published January 2007. And there, it's all published hardcover, paperback, Audible, all of that. And this timeline is 0ABY. So this goes into the same time frame, not same time frame. It's all in the same time frame, but the same dates during the event of A New Hope or soon after that, or after that. So it's within that standard year, I guess you can say. And this is what this gave me here. This is what my research gave me, 0ABY. I thought it was a little bit slightly after that, like 1, but hey, it is what it is. And so some continuity notes that I found, although an outside summary identified the Emperor's hand as Countess Mara Jade Claria. The book itself made no reference to Countess Claria being anything but an alias used by Mara Jade in the course of her professional duties. Now, this book is very interesting because you get to see her, how she is not necessarily an assassin, but she does handle things for Palpatine in the background, right? And sometimes it's investigating as well. So she has to have all these strategical, mindset and smarts about herself as well. So not only just assassin, but there's a lot more to an Emperor's hand. And she has to go in and she has to use aliases. And I think this is the book that has her Was it her test? Yeah, it was her test to see how she can get in and out and get I think what's Tarkin's room or something like that, to look at a painting or doing something. I haven't read this in a while, but anyways, to test her skill, test her smarts, test her her prowess, I guess you could say, and stuff. So very fun read, very interesting read. It has, of course, the big three, and it has Mara Jade, and basically, like, she doesn't really cross paths, like cross paths, but she doesn't have any interaction with Luke whatsoever. So very interesting how Timothy Zahn did that. So the appearance of Stacy in this novel was a homage to the fan film Pink 5. So I haven't pulled that up yet to see what Pink 5 is about and stuff like that, but I will look into that and share on Twitter and maybe here on YouTube posts. I wish I can do Rumble posts instead of just reposting the stream and stuff like that. So hopefully they'll change that. All right, Timothy Zahn is a great author. Yes, he is. He was give credit where credit is due. Although I will say it, I'll say it many times. I think Heir to the Empire, Arthur trilogy is overrated, even though I praise it for what it is, for revamping or creating the Star Wars Renaissance, and stuff. And it wasn't only Timothy Zahn that did that. It was also Tom Veitch. So both of them together, one for the novels, one for the comics. And boy, did it launch the comics and stuff. He did. So let's see here. And she's more like a spy than a straight up assassin, correct? Let's see here. And then George didn't approve the tier system. That was just basic way of how Leland Chi kept track of it, correct? Exactly. And that's what I tell people too, is like, it's not a set rule on canonicity to like what is canon or not. In a sense, yes, there is a tier for M canon, so it gives you an idea what is what of stories. But in reality, it's not like when it comes to the G, so-called G or movie canon, and T, so-called television canon, and C, continuity canon. They're all a single canon. They're all one under one canon, a single continuity. And that tier was specifically to just show where or what story, what character, what event was created in what media, right? And so you have the movie media, you have the show media, you have basically the EU media, which consists of written and even visual written, so like comics and novels and stuff. And that's what's interesting, is that there's not necessarily one for the games, even though there's LucasArts games, whatever. But they would be their novel version is the canon and stuff. So it's that right there gets a little sticky. I wouldn't say sticky, or what I would say a little complicated if you don't know what the games, how they are canon, what makes them canon to the overall story. So that's nothing hard to understand. But Disney, or I would say Disney shills or anti-EU people, frauds, would say use that to try to use that to say what is or isn't canon, and that's not how it goes. Good character development. I agree. I highly recommend this to read. It's fun. Even her interaction that she has with Vader, her future father-in-law, right? She has a basically a duel, a fight with him. And I'm not going to give any more of that, especially if you haven't read it yet. I know there shouldn't be any like spoiler warnings, but I like to kind of respect a little bit of people who haven't read this yet, when it comes to a scene like that, you need to read and experience that. That was a fun that was a fun thing between, I would say fun, like interesting read between her interaction and her quick duel or fight or whatever you want to call it with Vader. Let's see her. And oh, cool. Backstory for Mara Jade. Right. So normies pretend the Thrawn trilogy defines Mara Jade. The entire E is where you get the evolution and love of the character. Correct. We only get one instance of her, and this is how she is after the Emperor. Emperor dies, I guess you could say, quote unquote, dies, and the Empire falls, right? That is not exactly what a character, like to build a character, like that's not, you're not going to get the whole character arc in just that. You're just getting the aftermath of everything that happened, right? You know, after, like the aftermath of her, of everything. But you're not going to get anything about her past other than maybe something she has shared, right? And you're not going to get any development from it and all of that. And then also story after, right? Story after. So, is there an audiobook for Allegiance? I believe so. There's an Audible. I think it's abridged. I'll have to take a look. It more than likely is abridged. Usually Timothy Zahn's aren't abridged. But I think this one is. Let me go look on my Audible right now. Let's see here. Allegiance. All right. By Timothy Zahn. So it's 12 hours and 46 minutes. So I believe it's unabridged. It's an Audible unabridged, but you could probably find it on YouTube as well. And hopefully Star Wars Marvel Pierce will add this to the library he's creating of all the stories as well. Let's see here. Right. And let's see here. She's actually annoying as fuck in the Thrawn trilogy. That's what a lot of people say. That's what a lot of people say, is that she gets really annoying. Like she's kind of insufferable because she has this last command going on in her head. She hates Luke Skywalker, and so her attitude and how she carries on is where people get turned off by her, in a sense. And I've defended her regarding that on Twitter before. So it's very interesting. Very, very interesting. So there you go. Book of the week. I suggest to get it on your shelf if you have not. Yes, smash the like. And let's see here. First of all, I like to play tribute to, sometimes I get too caught up with what I'm saying and I forget to play them. So first of all, here's to our gatekeepers.
Because there's a fucking gatekeeper. There's a fucking gatekeeper.
And here is to my vatos right here. Soul Assassin.
This is going out to all the homies.
Yeah. This is for the raza. Yeah.
You trying to get crazy with this, eh? Don't you know I'm loco?
I love that. I love that. All right, let's see here. And whoops. Okay. So go out and get your book. Yeah. So go out and get your books. Yeah. And then Pure says, when I did the comic reads on the first two books, I used an annoying bitchy voice throughout. I'm gonna have to go listen to that. But promised any future comics I wouldn't do that. You know what? That I missed. Oh my God, that I missed. Holy shit. I didn't even realize that. Oh my God, that's worth listening to. And hearing Pierce's version of a bitchy Mara Jade. So go out there and get your books. Yep. And I think the Thrawn trilogy is so loved because the disappointment with Disney trilogy, and the Thrawn trilogy is a much better alternative, correct? And you know, when it started coming out, of course, it says the continuation of the saga. So, you know, it was loved back then, very, very popular, and it just solidifies that now. But there's so many other novels and comics and stuff that solidifies that even more. So that's why I say Thrawn trilogy is overrated, because there's so much more. Like the Hand of Thrawn duology, hands down, love it. Choices of One, yeah, it's okay. It's good. It's okay. I like Allegiance better than Choices of One. You have the stormtroopers backstory, what's going on, and how they're not agreeing with how various civilians are being treated by the Empire, especially aliens or non-humans, and questioning that, which makes them defect, I guess you can say. So another little backstory there. Very interesting to read. Very, very. And, you know, you would say, oh, well, that's kind of like, you know, what Finn did in The Force Awakens. Well, this is a hell of a lot better story than even what was created with that. They totally cut Finn throughout their own trilogy. Something that had potential with this deflecting stormtrooper type person for the Disney trilogy. And they totally just had him going around basically a lot of times towards the end of the trilogy, just screaming about Rey, you know. So I don't know. It's weird. All right, let's see here. They use it like the Star Trek books and comics where those aren't canon, correct. The EU was deleted because Kathleen don't like seeing a white man like Luke reviving the Jedi, the Jedi Order, the Jedi Order, I know. These adults in their 30s and 40s claiming the EU is in canon expose themselves for the Johnny-come-lately frauds they really are. Exactly. And then they also try to qualify themselves with like, oh, I'm 30 and 40 and I grew up with it. I seen, you know, like Star Wars in the theater and stuff like that. They try to qualify them as someone with authority and much better, you know, and stuff. It's kind of like a narcissist thing seeing here. Oh, well, I was 40 when and I grew up with it and I seen it in the theater, so I basically know more than you, and because of my age, you just need to shut the fuck up. You know, that's what I get from when they try to qualify themselves. Fucking stupid. All right. There's people that come on board that maybe wasn't into Star Wars until recently because they didn't like the direction Disney's taken the lore, and they hop into the EU. And they go and do their research and they share what they've learned, but they're not pretending to know it all. I want to say know it all. They're not pretending to use any type of experience or age or whatever as an authoritarian. Okay, so we've been on this book of the week for quite a while. Let's go ahead and get into our LucasFacts. And this goes out to Scran because he's been sharing on his Instagram a lot more of information about the canonicity and the building of the EU and all this other stuff just recently again, and I enjoy seeing all of that. All right, so LucasFacts, we'll get into that now, and then we'll talk some new Jedi Order. All right. So if you want to get out Destiny's Way book, if you have that, feel free to do that.
It's going to be great.
That's going to be great. That's going to be great.
Damn it. See these clips, the response on click and stuff is kind of weird. But yeah, so we're not necessarily breaking down the book other than talking events. So here we go. All right, so here's our LucasFacts. To keep it all straight, there is the canon, a timeline of major events and the lifespan of characters prepared by the continuity editors at Lucasfilm and considered the in-house Bible of the Star Wars universe. When further reference is needed, there are also stacks of binders listing everything from starships blueprints to the biographies of characters. Archival resources include all the painstakingly preserved movie props, models, costumes, and production art. All of it, from the Bible to the treasures of the Lucasfilm archives, is located on the grounds of the famed Skywalker Ranch. So this is from The Secrets of the Shadow of the Empire. And this is about like how and where you can research everything pertaining to the canon. The canon is not just the movies, because if they're only discussing about the movies in this process of preserving all the lore, then the archives is not as big as it would be with the EU, right? The starships, yeah, there's plenty of them from the movies and stuff, yeah, but there's a lot more going on there. So the Bible contains, and we know this, what is called the Bible, and later everything from the Bible was put on a digital platform called the Holocron. And that is from the historical evolution of Star Wars, the creation of Star Wars, from the movies, the comics, to the, you know, the novels, to the games, to the shows, what have you, are all preserved and archived so that a creator can go in and research. And then, you know, we also have Western Games. Western Games is another thing, source too, where some things weren't even in the Bible yet. That Bible was being still created back then in the day, right? And so sometimes Western Games, a lot of times Western Games stuff was brought in and preserved as part of the lore of Star Wars as well. So that's why, you know, people like Timothy Zahn, we were just talking about him, were given Western Games as a resource to build and use, because it helped keep continuity with the creation of Star Wars going forward. And I'm pulling this up from my phone because I don't want to have to search on my tabs. So last night, as I was creating the stream here, I was looking things up and for Destiny's Way. And so I thought this was very interesting. The Nebula Award-winning author Walter John Williams reviewed key information from the Star Wars expanded universe before writing Destiny's Way. So you have this author who was researching and doing his homework so that when he's writing this novel for the greater Star Wars lore, he can have a better and more clear insight into the universe he's writing for, and, you know, maintaining continuity. So I thought that was really interesting. And so there you go. So this pertains to what we're talking about right here. And again, I didn't put the source down here because, you know, I like triggering some people who get pissed off because I don't put the source down, and I will share the source on my Twitter after I'm done here on the live stream. I just like to make some people spaz out because it's fucking funny. Talk about getting your panties in a bunch, right? All right. So let's see what you guys are saying here. The Western Games material was amazing. I can gush about the stuff all day. They did so much work expanding upon the early days of Star Wars, correct. And Matt Wilkins has been reviewing all the RPGs and stuff. I think he's now past the Western Games and stuff, but he's been reviewing all of the RPGs and stuff. So it's worth going back and finding those and listening to them. Very, very fun. Very, very fun. Let's see. The movie were just the tip. The EU was the rest of the massive iceberg, correct. And Secrets of the Shadows of the Empire sourcebook, correct. And let's see here. Back when the continuity mattered and was great. Screw you, furry cowboy. And let's see here. Wolf Scar is here. Here I am. Welcome. And then we have the Cannibal, the Dragon. Isn't the book the one, the intro's Pink 5? Yeah. Let's see here. James. It's okay. I'm a Western Games fan tester who received holiday cards from Lucasfilm. Therefore, I'm quality to speak about the continuity. Ah, damn. OG loves triggering the nudie armed beta cucks. Yes. So yeah. So I shared the source here to you verbally, and I will put it below the post after I'm done here. But I love triggering them because I mean, what the fuck? I mean, pull those panties out from your crack at least. Jeez. Or at least wear a thong so that when you get your panties up in a bunch, it might feel better, or it won't hurt you as much because there's not much for it's already up the crack already, I guess you could say. I don't know. Anyways, sub to Matt Wilkins, yes, if you haven't already. And the Western Games are the true saviors of Star Wars. Very interesting. I don't think at the time Star Wars needed to be saved. I don't know. But maybe in a fact to where, people like Timothy Zahn and stuff like that, and even, Timothy Zahn was given or recommended Western Games to help build the lore. So interesting. Something to think about. Another interesting thing, and I'm going to go there, is Timothy Zahn talks freely about even George. Like, he's like, George gave me Western Games books or whatever, or recommended them or whatever. Okay, so his time frame of writing Heir to the Empire and Tom Veitch beginning to write or writing Dark Empire is around the same time frame, because even Lucasfilm has asked both authors to review each other's work before it was published. They sent the initial, like, as you could see, I guess you could say scripts or whatever, synopsis or whatever, or writings to each other so that they can critique and try to be on the same page with their stories, continuity wise, right? So then why is it that for Tom, they say George was never involved or had a say or didn't know what's going on. But for Tim, it's the opposite. Something to think about. I'm going to look further into that. Because that sounds very odd to me. Especially those people who are trying to discredit Tom. Rest in peace. So I'm going to look further into that. Okay. At least wear a thong. Quote of the day. Oh my god. Well, yeah, if you're gonna get your panties up in a bunch all the fucking time, just wear a thong. Just go all the way, wear a thong, and then you won't have any problems whatsoever. But anyways, I digress from that. All right, we're going to get into some lore talk here. But first of all, I want to go refill my coffee. I need some more Wakalapi, our coffee. So I'm going to play this clip for you guys. Now's your opportunity to go to the refresher, refresh your mug of CAF or whatever you're enjoying. Grab your snack. And so let me go ahead and put this up here. We are going to play the EU Homage by Matt Wilkins.
Someone asked me to give the best reason why someone should read the Expanded Universe. After giving it a lot of thought, here's what I have to say. The Expanded Universe respects the reader. In the Expanded Universe, Luke Skywalker's optimism continues where it left off in Return of the Jedi. He's fulfilled hope to the galaxy just like Obi-Wan said he would, not like the Disney movies where he gave up on the Jedi or even the whole galaxy for that matter. The character you see in those movies is not Luke. Luke isn't a quitter. He's not a pessimist. He's a leader. He's inspirational, and he's always there for his friends in times of need. Another character is Han Solo. He's introduced to us in A New Hope as a loner, a man who cares only for himself and nobody else. But by the end of Return of the Jedi, that all turns around when he finally finds friends he can trust and a true love to spend the rest of his life with. And that's exactly what he does in the expanded universe. Han is a devoted husband and father to Leia and their kids. He loves his family above all else. In the new movies, Han turns out to be a selfish deadbeat dad who ran out on his family when things get tough. It's a complete 180 from the character that we saw from Return of the Jedi. Now, another thing the EU does is it rewards its readers. Attention to detail when it comes to continuity has never been done at such a level as when it was performed by the expanded universe. Avid readers will constantly be rewarded for their diligence as comics, novels, video games, and even children's books share connections throughout the entire series, making it almost a flawless, continuous story. And though it has its minor flaws, it's still the best overall story and continuity out there, period. That's what the EU does. It respects and rewards its readers. And that's the best reason you should give it a try. Long live the expanded universe.
Long live the expanded universe. And yes, Matt's cooking heart-speeding facts about the EU. Exactly. But does EU Luke wear a thong, though? The question is, does Mara Jade? For all you guys out there who like your spicy redheads. Yeah, and smash the like. All right, let me see. I did create a what do you call it? A little, what do you call it? A PDF, not a PDF, a clip for this. So I'm just going to bring this up here and have that there. So I did not make my little slides for it, but it is what it is. And I don't regret it either. The day was just one of those days where I was just like, it was chill, just hanging out with family and taking care of things. and he says, I don't think Mara wears any. And what about this? Like, there's no underwear in space. Remember, George? There's no underwear in space. At least that's what Carrie said. George was said to her. There's no underwear in space. All right, let's see here. I mean, if Mara asked him to. Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. We're all here talking about, does these characters wear thongs? After I'm telling some idiots that they need to, put a thong on if they keep getting their panties up in a bunch. Hey, it lessens the fabric bulkiness, I guess you could say. Right? Okay. I digress with that. So, new Jedi Order, we're coming to a conclusion with Destiny's Way timeline of events. And we're going into, there's so much going on here. Like I said, this is not a book review. But we're going to, on the Battle of Ebaq9, hopefully I said that right. And so there we had Sovereign Law had sent a massive fleet to defeat, I guess you could say, the New Republic. My. Yeah. And Jaina, she's a leader of her squadron, and she's training some rookies. And you have, what's his name? What is Felia's cousin's name, or whatever his name is? Frey. What's his name again? Where it's? Let me see if I can find it real quick. Who is the Bothan that's in charge now? What's his name again? Oh, I can't think of his name. Creepy. There we go. I was like, I know it's not Failure. He's dead now. So it's Creepy. And they have like the, let's see here, what is it called again? The Bothans invoked their basically revenge kind of like ritual or whatever it's called. Oh fuck, I can't find the name of it. Let's see here. So they enacted their that cause, I guess you can say, and I forget what it's called again. I think it starts with a K. I'm not sure. Well, anyways, so they enacted their rights to war, and for the no holds bar war, the Bothans, and so that frees up Creefey for a lot of things. And so he is like wanting to throw everything at the Vong, everything. So he's bringing in everything to battle the Vong. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. Yeah, Admiral Creefey. Yeah, I kept on thinking about Failure, but I was like, it's not Failure, it's his cousin or whatever, and it starts with a K. But anyways, yeah. So Cal Almost, no. Cal Almost, he is basically now the president or whatever. Is he the president now? Yeah. All right. So, and yeah, but no, it's Admiral Creefey. Let's see here. The Steve Martin character. All right. So let me go back to what I was looking at in the book here. And you have Nomenor involved in this, and he is undercover and stuff, and he's all trying to uncover, like, because there's a lot of like inner turmoil within the Vong society, especially these upper classes, the war, all of that. And in this, basically Nomenor basically loses and flees and stuff, but he doesn't want to have his life end and stuff. So there's all kinds of crap going on here. And Jason goes on to Ebaq down onto the surface and stuff because he knows that there's this trap, and actually Sovereign Law is enticing all the Jedi to come and participate outside of the battle. But then it's also like a form of trap. And so Jason goes in there, and he's facing all of this and stuff like that. And I think he also sensed that his sister, he left where his mission was supposed to be because he sensed his sister was in danger, or he foreseen it or whatever. And then he goes down to the Battle of Ebaq9. And he's being pursued and stuff because basically it's like a trap. And Bergère knows about this and stuff. And she senses Jason, I guess you could say, in danger. So she does a suicide mission for herself to crash into the moon, to sabotage the atmosphere, or I guess you could say, or what have you, to where breathing would be impossible. But because all of that's going on, she basically projects herself to Jason to warn him, so that he can prepare himself, get him like a breather or whatever. He can prepare himself for that. And then after that, she dies. And so he builds a force bubble around him and realizes that Bergère is dead. So I think this is where people think that she became a force ghost. And I could be partially wrong. I have to go back and read. But she already force projects herself before she dies. And he prepares himself. And then he realizes she is dead. So I think this is where people think, and I have to go, like I said, to go back and review. you know, it's like there's so much details going on and stuff like that where people think this is a force ghost of her or whatever. But I'll go back and confirm that because it could be a different instance. The Nomenor stuff is great. I agree. I strongly agree. Jason also had been smuggling Vergere around post Star by Star, hiding her from the Republic. Correct. And I was revisiting, driving around, doing some errands. I was revisiting the Audible. The Audibles doesn't give it justice, but it gives you some insight. At least it still has Luke's conversation with Vergere when she's being held for interrogation and stuff like that. And she's a really odd character. And you could see her intentions are not Jedi-like, even with her perception of the Force. It is very manipulative. She's like, oh, it's okay if you go dark, if your intentions are this way and that way. You know, I'm being very, I'm paraphrasing, basically. And so listening to Troy Denning's remarks about like Jason and the direction he's taken him, like the interview about that, he sees what we see, that there's a possibility of her going light and being this ultimate Qui-Gon, right? But there's also all of these seeds planted for her to go dark. A lot more seeds planted for her to go dark. So I've been sharing bits of those clips and stuff from him because he's said something that I've said before. Like I haven't fully listened to that part of that, his reason for the direction of Jason. And it kind of like clarified to what I've seen. I don't know about you guys. Moon, right? Force Bubble is a really cool power, especially when used offensively, like when Kit Fisto used on Doc during the Clone Wars, correct? And then when Leia and Mara Jade used it when they went to was it Duros? Duro? I think it was on Duro, yeah. When they went in to confront Nomenor, and he fled and the cave and everything started like falling down on them and stuff like that. They had to use the Force Bubble too as well for Mara Jade and Jaina. Vergere is a crazy evil parrot. Another fence rider like Kriya, but in a different way. She embraces the Force. Kriya condemns it. Very interesting. Yes, I see that. She's a fence rider. It's like, if you want to say, maybe this is where we're going to get into the talk of this. This is where the Grey Jedi comes from. The concept. From how Kriya and Vergere view the Force. And no, Kriya and Vergere are not the final say on what the Force said, what the Force is. Jedi, Sith are dark. Jedi, light and dark side of the Force. George ultimately had the say, and that has never changed, ever. It's just the authors are playing with people, individual concepts, and how they can be manipulate others to see it that way because the Force is supposed to be mysterious, right? So when something is mysterious and you can't really define it, and the midichlorians don't define it, then you're going to have people gullible to listen, right? And Jason is one of them. Sad to say, but yes, because of the manipulation and stuff that he went through. Yeah, balance point, nice. Let's see here. No, she doesn't get a Jake style death. Oh, I would love to see a dialogue between Kriya and Vizier on the netherworld of the Force. That would be fucking interesting, really. You know, Kriya's not my favorite character. Kriya, whatever. But that would be interesting. I sent you a short about the Force bubble, OG. Okay. Let's see here. And I think the first reference was Jolie, Bindu, and Couture. Correct. That, yeah. Dark Jedi and Sith are not the same. Correct. Yeah, on Kashyyyk. Yeah. All right, let me go ahead and check it out real quick. Let me pull up my Twitter. I have it, Twitter and Rumble, pulled up on my phone, but not here on the computer. Let's see here. All right. Do 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 near. Okay, there we go. Oh, it's a YouTube. Okay, let me make sure I. All right, let's take a look at this. Just for the funsies of it. The funsies. Just for the funsies of it. Okay, share screen. Okay.
And the woman comes and says, ooh, nice Porsche. Gotcha, bitch. And the woman comes and says, ooh, nice Porsche. Gotcha, bitch.
So hit Boba Fett in the face with a Force bubble. Okay. Yeah, so Force bubbles, all of that, like something new, different. I don't want to say new, but it's been in the lore for a while. Oh, my clip is off. All right. So how many have played that game that I just shared? All right, let's see here. And I mean, Sith are a species and a cult made by once Dark Jedi over the species about the dark side. So yeah, not the same. Yeah. So I wouldn't even say, maybe you could say it's an evolution from Dark Jedi to Sith, but just in that particular group, right? Because we still have Dark Jedi later on, years on, and they're still not the same. So it's the influence of the Sith species and their culture and Dark Jedi and their views. And from there, just like the Tong with the Mandalorians, their species started, fading out, whether, by merit, like interbreeding or what have you, or just through, I don't know, the evolution process, genocide, I don't know. But anyways, they, you go from the species that held that culture and stuff to now a new type of beings that use the same concept and stuff like that and all of that. So it's very interesting to look at and like compare the Mandalorian evolution from the Tong, who are a species from Coruscant before it became a huge cityscape, right? Or even as it was becoming a cityscape, and versus the Sith as the red-skinned Sith species and the influence of the Dark Jedi when that schism, when the Jedi split. So that's very interesting. Let's see here. Kit Fisto should have used this move against Palpatine in that scene. Yeah, you would think that, but sometimes concepts are made after the fact. So are not even considered because, yeah. But I wondered, like, just to think about it, I wonder what another Force user like Sidious would have done to counter that, right? Bubblicious gum. All right, let's see here. They would have caught Palps off guard. You think so? Dark Jedi is like Grey Jedi on opposite sides of the Force spectrum. We're going on the spectrum of the sin. We're not even talking about gray versus dark and light and what have you. So with this here, let's go back to the battle. And you know what? What's so funny is I'm going into the character Jason during this battle because I wanted to point out, like maybe a few months ago, a few, I think it might have been some green dolts and some of the haters that don't like me, were talking about, and it could be that, it could be me and all of them, because a lot of those dark dolts are those green dolts don't like me. But anyways, who cares? But my point is that they were talking bad about Force lightning being used by the Jedi, and how it breaks continuity into George's movies and blah blah blah. And then also they went into like bashing Luke or Mara Jade for using it. But of course, they love Jason in the new Jedi Order. They forget to talk about him because Jason was only ruined after the new Jedi Order, not before, right? So they can't, by God, they cannot break their narrative to include him in the bashing, right? Because the only time Jason's character was abused, wrong, bastardized, or whatever they want to say is post New Jedi Order. So my point is Jason did release some Jedi lightning, basically, or judgment, or was that lightning judgment, or whatever it's called, during that time to defeat the Vong around him. Isn't that fucking interesting? How these individuals who will go against, Denning and Austin and Travis and Golden about Jason's character and how they bastardize, particularly Troy Denning, how they bastardize his character. And his character was so good in the New Jedi Order, but they won't point out, Electric Judgment, thank you. They won't point out the same thing that they point out to talk shit about the use of lightning, Force lightning by a Jedi, Electric Judgment. Because, Mara used it in the Darkness trilogy, and so did Luke. But who used it first? Beforehand, Jason. So you see the hypocrisy here? You see that? I know I didn't say Jedi are a species. They don't go after Austin. That's why I call it the Austinverse. Oh, I know that. It's all about Troy Denning, and I know that. And I've used Austinverse before, and people would get so pissed off because Austin can't do no bad. It was all Troy. Troy held everybody else hostage when writing in Legacy, right? But they don't realize it was Austin's idea for a lot of like the villain arcs and Jason's arc and stuff like that. So it was Austin was on board with it. Very interesting, right? And I like the theory that the Force isn't bad, just a person using it. Yeah, I mean, that's a theory, but when you look more into the Force, there's certain, that's why they say dark side of the Force. There's certain Force abilities that only can be used when you're in the rage of hate and fear and all this other stuff, right? So yeah, that's part of it, but there is a dark side of the Force. And when the Force is not in balance, it's on the dark side. When it's in balance, it's on the light side. Did Jason and others learn electric judgment from Kuhn, who developed it during the Clone Wars? Good question, because I never looked into the evolution of electric judgment on where that originated for the New Jedi Order, like those that are under Luke's teachings, right? So something to look into. But anybody can answer that here, feel free to do so. Because there's a lot of things that were destroyed by Palpatine or even rewritten so that it can be used against any future Jedis, right? Are manipulated, I guess you can say. And then there's a lot that hasn't been. So, you know, Luke's search for archives and training stuff and all this, and his mission to rebuild the order during that timeline of the EU or of Star Wars in the EU. It's very interesting because he'd have that crash on Dathomir. That was a traveling school, I guess you can say. And then, you know, then that museum, that archived where that archived facility on Coruscant where Lusankyo was, right? And you know, like the big statues that were destroyed and stuff like that, and all the lightsabers that were put on display there and stuff like Palpatine is such a fucking crazy hoarder and all of that, but he's a collector. We knew that from the start. He collected Sith archives even before he became Sith. So very interesting. And anything that had to deal with the Jedi during the time frame, like during the Empire, the Imperial reign, I guess you can say. If you had that, you could be arrested or killed and stuff, but he's compensating that stuff, right? He's compensating that stuff. So very interesting. And then you have the Mount Tantus. So, you know, and then I don't know if there's any other resources that Luke found. I'm not recalling. But there's a lot that he's uncovered that weren't even written into. So getting into Jedi versus Sith and reading through that, you know, you can get a glimpse of everything that was recovered and what they're still questioning on if it was manipulated by Palpatine or not and stuff. Very interesting read. Very interesting read. Let's see here. And we went from the Battle of Ebaq9 to now talking about this development here. I like how these conversations do go, even though they go off track a bit, because we get into discussion of the greater lore. People have to understand that all force powers can be used by both sides. They're just tools. Is the intention who's going to define it bad or good in the end of the day? Yeah, I could see that too. But again, like there's certain, you have to present yourself or being, I wouldn't say you have to be in a certain mood to use it. But the intentions and stuff like that all have to do with if it's dark or light. Dark side of the force is a thing. Let's see here. The potentium theory, pretty sure that was stated to be incorrect by both Jedi and Sith. Let's see here. It is the intention of the being who defines if it's light or dark. Well, then force lightning is something that is used predominantly dark side versus electric judgment. They're both two different things, right? I don't know. So this is a good debate, and I would love to have this as an individual stream with a couple of panelists on here, at least up to 4. Vader only uses force lightning through a force tempest or through a kinetic. All right. So I thought I would bring up here. All right. I wanted to pull that up because that's one thing, genuinely dishonest. Yeah. And then, so in this battle, Salman Law is the only Gong survivor of the air loss, thanks to his personal guards who have protected him in his school from thousands of suffocating. The brilliance of this. So, but we're going to come to an end on this here. So one of the last events, or the last event for Destiny's Way, is the Ebaq9. And I would say that for the New Republic, even though masses were lost, it was still, I would say, a win, if you want to consider that or not. Or they came out as a draw. But yeah, so let's see here. So the New Republic had reforms itself into the Galactic Federation of Free Alliances at the end. So we get the elections of the elections going on. We have Cal Almas, all of that going on. We have Luke recreating a somewhat new Grand Council or High Council, but not consisting of all Jedi. It consists of like some political entities from the New Republic, now the Galactic Federation of Free Alliances. And this is to help with the optics and everything going on and fighting the Yuuzhan Vong. Later, he withdraws from this and then he starts building up the council again. But this time it's all Jedi. And we see that happen in Darkness Trilogy. So this is not just this is not a set in stone council, but it's the beginning. It's the beginning of it. And Luke redefining the order, as always. He does without probably not even knowing. There are a lot of similarities that are things that are kept the same, but there's also a lot of differences. So we have the Galactic Federation of Free Alliance, GFFA. And Shimra. Like I said, this gets interesting within the Vong aspect. Shimra places a dark mark on Numenor, Yuuzhan Vong, to hunt down and kill him after the disaster of Ebaq9. And Shimra has Nimi, which is his shamed underling. They both have to like basically take a look back and redouble their efforts to defeat the natives of the galaxy after Ebaq. So there's a lot of going back and reflecting on where the Vong need to be, who's at fault. Numenor, we already know that he's not adhering to the culture of if he fails, he must kill himself, right? And so now there's a death mask on him and stuff. And Numenor is a big key player throughout this whole series. So we're going on to the next book next week. We'll start with that. I'll have that all lined. I will have a slide for that. And we're going to get on to the next topic. So let me see what you guys are saying. Let's see here. Basically this, correct. The Jedi uses it to contain, not to necessarily kill. Right. And they took Biss from Palps and gave him lame Exegol. Yeah, that's in the Disney lore. Yeah. Let's see, anything else? Shills have proven to have low reading comprehension levels. Correct. And Fortress Vader, really? And let's see here. Why did Disney change Vader's HQ from best? Oh, this is where the conversation's coming from. Okay, I'm scrolling up from the first one, the recent one. Is the stream going in and out for anyone else? Uh-oh, what's going on? I'm okay on my end. I don't know what's going on. Share the like. Hey, I can read, kind of, but I'm not a separatist. I'm not a separatist. All right, so let me see here. Make sure I don't have it pulled up, so I'll have to go back onto Twitter here. All right. Now, I was going to talk about this rumor thing about Heir to the Empire thing again, because it's being brought up again. But I want to get into this Grey Jedi since this has been a conversation throughout the stream. But let me pull it up. I thought I had the image ready to go, but I don't. Wah, wah, wah. All right, let's see here. Where is it at? Okay, here we go. Okay, let me press share, and then we'll part here and call it a day. Let's see here. There it is. Let me go ahead and share. All right. There we go. Let me see what you're saying here. Destiny's Way is an amazing book. Love to see Berger being annoying with Luke because he married and had kids being a Jedi. I know, it's so fucking crazy. I wouldn't say to me she's up there with Kriya, like not my favorite character. And but it still makes the story interesting. Just like Kriya makes the story interesting in the Old Republic. I wouldn't dismiss what they bring at all. All right. Let's see here. There can't be moderation in the Force of Revan's holocron. All right. So this right here. Now, Star Wars Visions basically is what I've been told is a non-canon or what if kind of story. And since they've been advertising this, and when I've seen the first I guess you could say trailer or sneak peek or whatever you want to call it, I automatically said this is a retelling of A New Hope. It's all there. It's all there. So I guess this one is the 9th Jedi. And it said to bring one of the most divisive and controversial concepts from Legends or EU into Disney era Star Wars for the very first time. Now, I did not read the article, so let me see if it comes up on the screen or if I have to reshare. Let's hope not. Let me go ahead and click out of this. All right. Yes, I have to reshare. Damn it. So stop screen. There we go. Sometimes I wish if you're showing a screen and you click on something, sometimes that it will take us to the link, but no, it opened up in a different tab. So, Grey Jedi. What do you guys know about the Grey Jedi? We talked about the origins earlier, or when we first started seeing it in the Old Republic. I think it was in the gameplay, basically. And then later it was mentioned in a prequel era comic about Obi-Wan being a Grey Jedi. And then from there in Legacy, and I think the character descriptions within the comics for the Imperial in the Imperial Knights, Jaina's Knights, and they were described as Grey Jedi. So what do you guys think that means? What is your insight on that for those mentions? And do you really think that people, like the fans, got the perception wrong? And that's a rhetorical question on my part. You guys should know the answer already. If not, they did get it wrong. Let's see. Legends. Let's see here. All right, Brigitte. At my time, we Jedi never married. It was forbidding and should have stayed that way, with an exception of damn Kai Honeymundi, that lucky bastard. Laugh out loud. Luke and Mara. Yeah, Grandma, sure. I had to read that. All right, so going back. I should have brought up, excuse me. I should have brought up that little clip of Grey versus, and I think it might be in this article. Let me see here. The 9th Jedi. I think it's a bunch of BS when Grey Jedi, Rogue Jedi, perhaps, but not Grey. Yeah. Conrad is still going on about this. All right. And so this is written on August 5th, so yesterday. So who cares about spoilers? Let's see here. Let me see. Like I said, I have not read this thoroughly. Let me see here. From Vision, the story plays 1,000. So this is 1,000 years after the events of Rise of Skywalker. So they're using Rise of Skywalker as a landing platform here on their date system, I guess, at least for this article. So when it was released, The Ninth Jedi received attention and praise for its jaw-dropping twist, i.e. that all the Jedi were actually Sith Lords. So going on, and then it says the latter proves particularly relevant in the new series as Kamiyama expands upon unique ideas by weaving in one of the most divisive elements from the EU. And in the series, characters align with the light side of the Force when they ignite the lightsaber, wield a blade that is either blue, green, or purple. Conversely, dark side characters wield a blade that is red when they ignite the lightsaber. Interestingly, midway through the series, Zima ignites a lightsaber that is different colors, silver. Now that is so fucking on the nose. You know, you could look at silver as a gray color, right? Silver as a gray because it's not exactly white, not exactly black. That is so fucking on the nose. Oh my god. But there are instances of Jedi like from the EU, like Corn Horn, that has a kind of like a silver. I think it could switch his colors, but his blade is like a silver blue. Dear Lord. Fake enemy. And then Ahsoka, basically, doesn't she have silver too? Like it went from her color. Yep, exactly. Exactly. So this is about pick your mood colors saber. So if you're peace and a Jedi and you don't have like the emotional equivalency of like a shield screaming out in anger, your saber is green, blue, or purple, right? But if you're dark side and you're always angry and what have you, you're gonna have a red lightsaber, right? I'm being hyperbole. I'm going into hyperbole here. But if you're in between, not happy, not sad, mad, or whatever, your saber is gonna be silver. Oh my god, this is like the mood rings of lightsabers. Oh my god, it doesn't fucking work that way. Holy shit. Remember that when the evolution of like what Jedi, like what makes up the Jedi Order, you had your Guardians, you had your Sentinels, you had, all of them. And more than likely the sabers represented where you stood in your training and your teachings and your direction, right? Usually, because sometimes a Jedi like Mace will end up with a different color lightsaber. But it wasn't about the mood. It wasn't about... It was just about your practice and your job duties within the order. Only I got to read the rest of this, but you guys' comments are fun. Who would think Disney's in between would be a Rambo? Yeah, I was kind of expecting that too. And disappointed. So Grey Jedi are a non-binary of the Force. I don't know. Infinities is greater than visions. Zima, my millennial ears are burning. I'm not a gray. I'm a silver or ogre. Hi, how you doing? Oh my god. So Corn was half Grey Jedi and half Jedi now. I don't know. Oh my god. We all called them mood crystals when Disney changed the lightsaber lore, correct? I know. I remember teasing about that in the past, but this surely solidifies it even more. Mood sabers is when the moody blue sits in with the Max Rebo. Blue for Guardian, yellow for Sentinel, and green for Consular, correct. Oh my god. Wow. And then when you get with into Luke's new Jedi Order, that concept of organizations or where your job is, like Consular, Guardian, what have you, has ever evolved I wouldn't say it's non-existent, but still, there's some things that, like I said, we were discussing this, Luke didn't know about because that information was destroyed or was never found or located again. Right? Just like when he didn't know about the concept of marriage for the PT era of Jedi. Right? Okay. So, damn Bendu, what you've done. The Moose God claims that he's the middle. Okay. And purple to motherfuckers. All right, let's get back to this right here. It is initially unclear why Zima's blade is silver rather than a color associated with the light side. Flashbacks to Zima's background reveal that he killed his master Reno, Nevada, seemingly without explanation. Years prior to the start of the series, in the attack, Zima's lightsaber turned from blue to silver. Oh, so it just turned on its own. It turned from blue to silver. Did she heal it? Like, why would she need to heal a blue saber? Later on, La Cara dipped her toes into the dark side when she slaughtered a group of bad guys. What? Okay. Following this act, her green lightsaber turns red. However, we're fucking talking about moon sabers right here. Oh. If you're dark, your lightsaber is gonna turn red. She didn't bleed, it just turned it red, right? I guess. I don't know. So then why did Anakin's saber not turn when he began his march up the steps to the Order on nightfall? Right? Interesting. All right. However, after repenting for her actions, her lightsaber turns silver. Okay. Then in the final stretch of the series, Nawam's blade turns from blue to silver as well. Interestingly, Nawam's is the antagonist and the leader of the new empire, but his lightsaber glows blue throughout the episodes until this culminating episode. The series remains purposely vague about the nature of the silver lightsaber, but if it offers enough information to theorize with it. So they're coming up with a theory. So we're having Star Wars theory going on here. Seemingly, silver lightsabers denote a person who is neither entirely good or entirely bad. Again, mood saber, right? One character refers to it as a state of nothingness. Okay. So if you have no morals, because when you look at Jedi sit on this side of good, protection, all of this, and then the dark side is more or less more selfish and selfless versus selfish whatever. So then now this person, they're experiencing nothingness. So why do they fucking even care to do anything? More specifically, it appears that the lightsaber glowing silver reflects a wielder's stance towards killing. What? But Sith kill. Jedi have to kill to protect and stuff. That's just the nature of war. Car's blade, and if someone kills, I mean, that necessarily, like if you kill out of selfishness or whatever, it's like still bad, right? Wouldn't your blade turn red according to this? What? I don't know. Car's blade turns from silver to green in the finale once she agrees to no longer to kill. Huh. But again, you have a saber. And no matter what, killing does result into the state of like war, whether you're on the good or bad side, I guess you could say. Defending, sometimes. So I don't know. It's weird. Weird. Well, Zima's blade turns silver when he becomes content to kill his master. Killing without justification would be an act of dark side and therefore warrant a red blade, but killing with justification exists in a murkier moral territory. Is murder ethical if there is some level of responsibility? Is responsible justification behind the act? So what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Disney lore, orange means kind of dark, not completely dark. Weird. I know, right? Let's see here. Luke, Corn, what you did, Corn. Let's see here. Let me see here. I would have loved to saw or see. That's what they're coming to here. So they're saying that this is the controversy of what, and here we go. Here it is. Now, not all Sith used red sabers either in the EU. Some of them still had their blue, right? And here you have this Grey Jedi with these basically what it looks like orange blades here or something. I don't know. Or yellow. It looks more orange to me. So let's see here. Let's take a look. So they're saying that this Grey Jedi code, this Grey Jedi exists in the EU. It doesn't. Now, the Grey Jedi I was talking about in the lore pertain to how someone doesn't act according to the Jedi code. Not that their morals are somewhere in between, but they're not going to go, they're not a part of the Jedi, or they don't adhere to the code. So we could say, oh, we could look at Qui-Gon. He doesn't fall into the code, or he doesn't do his own thing all the time. But he doesn't agree with the council all the time. But he still takes orders from them. He still, confides in them and all this other stuff. He's still a Jedi. But they call him a Grey Jedi because he doesn't fully follow the code or agrees with the council. That's not what the Grey Jedi is. His moral, he's still light side. He's not gray. He's still light side. His actions are still light side, right? All right. So then you get into Legacy with Jaina's Imperial Knights or whatever. Yeah. And they're called Grey Jedi too. Or at least that's what the description of them in for their description within the comments say. And it goes back to what I said with Qui-Gon. They're not a part of the order. They still are light side. They still have this moralistic kind of demeanor like Jedi do. Because look at their origins. So they're not gray in the concept that fans have created here. So this is where I want to share the facts about the noted mention of Grey Jedi in the EU versus what fans created from it. Now here we have the Sith code. Peace is a lie. There's only passion. So this is the Jedi first phrase in that line there. There's no dark side or no light side. There's only the Force. All right. And the Jedi code. There's no emotion. There is peace. And then the second line of the Sith code. Through passion, I gain strength. Second line in the gray. This is fan-made, mind you. Second line in this here, the gray code. I will do what I must to keep the balance. Okay. Keep the balance. So the balance, light side. Balance is nothing in between dark and light. And the Sith are not, I wouldn't even have Sith in this either. But anyways, and so there is no ignorance, there is knowledge. So that's the Jedi code. And going through here, the third line, through strength I gain power. There is no good without evil, but evil must not be allowed to flourish. So that's the gray. That's the third line. And then the third line for the Jedi, there is no passion, there is serenity. So see how this kind of goes off the Sith code more than the Jedi code, the Grey code. Through power, I gain victory. And this is from the bottom last portion of the Grey code. There is passion yet peace. There is serenity yet emotion. There is chaos yet order. See how there's like this in between kind of thing going on. And then for the Jedi code, there is no chaos. There's harmony. And I think this Jedi code, and you can correct if you agree with me that or not, that's fine. This goes into the mindset of the Jedi. How you act, right? You want to act in peace. You want to seek knowledge. You want to have serenity when you're acting, right? Rather in defense or whatever. You want to find harmony within yourself. And this is the Sith part, through victory, my chains are broken. The Force shall set me free. And this is the last part of the Jedi code. There is no death. There is the Force. So to me, the Jedi code has always been about how you preserve yourself when in conflict and basically in, I guess you could say, public with other people. You want to be in a state of peace. You want to always seek the knowledge. You want serenity within yourself so that you don't act in passion, which can take you in many different directions. And it can get into selfishness, I guess you could say. And you don't want to be in chaos. You want to be in harmony so that you can, be that pillar of negotiations and all this other stuff. I'm going into like a lot of the PT stuff here. And then there's also sacrifice. So when you sacrifice yourself for the greater good, you're not dying. You're going back to the Force. So there's that. Let me see what you guys have to say. The Jedi are turning in their graves and hearing the Hoodoo Jedi Sith mixed BS called Grey Jedi. Yeah. All this gray morality crap is made to muddy the waters and sow confusion, make it easier to manipulate people. Correct. And let's see here. Let me scroll up a little bit more. Anything else? Oh, you guys have a lot to say in here. All right, I'm gonna start right here. It's not about justification. A Sith justify killing as means to gain power in the dark side. It's about the intent. What are you killing? Is it to defend yourself, or is it relish in other suffering? Yeah, that's a good point. And Janissary, Potentium, and Imperial Knights looking at this BS. And let's see here. 50 Shades of Light. Let's see here. Even Alticians Jedi were Grey Jedi, right? No, not necessarily. Imperial Knights were light side, or they wouldn't care if the Empire turned dark. Correct. Grey, the Gauge. There we go. All this gray morality crap. I already read that one already. Let's see here. I wish they used a light shade of Raid. A lighter shade of Raid. Pink. But you don't get it, OG. Lots of famous EU characters were Grey Jedi. Typically still argument, right? Oh, and this too. Luke's order were gray. The water is turning the Jedi gray. All right, so this is what they're saying. They think this right here is in lore concept, and it's not. It's a fan concept. Now, the two codes from the Sith and the Jedi are in lore, but not the gray one. That's fan concept. That's always been fan concept. There's nowhere in the lore that says that gray are in between light and dark. Only gray, if you, like I said, the artist looking at the concept of color theory, I guess you can say, gray or black and white, when you mix them together, creates a gray tone, right? With this definition in mind, Grey Jedi instantly appeared. Star Wars Vision presents the 9th Jedi. Characters like Zima and Noam tap into dark side emotions and engage in behaviors such as murder, typically associated with the dark side for what they perceive to be good or neutral purposes. In turn, they are not fully aligned with the light, but they are also not fully aligned with the dark. The concept of Grey Jedi in Star Wars has been met with significant criticism over the years because it's never been, the concept of Grey is only that, the concept. It's not a lore thing. Not in the concept that they're going at. The concept is just basically, the lore version is just the person not aligning or taking orders from the council, being more individual, I guess you can say, are not associated. They have similarities to Jedi to the Jedi. Detractors suggested that Grey Jedi contradicts lore by fundamentally breaking the established rules of the Force, misinterpreting light and dark, and conflating institutional disobedience with a magical middle ground. George Lucas affirmed that the dark side was inherently corrupting. As such, balance in the Force is seen by most as a total absence of dark side rather than the perfect blend of light and dark. It should be noted that as a Star Wars Visions non-canon, Grey Jedi are not suddenly part of the canon due to their appearance in the new show. However, their inclusion represents an interesting turning point for the history of Star Wars storytelling as one of the most controversial elements from Legends EU has been finally brought back into the fold. Well, it can't be brought back into the fold when it never existed before in the concept you're presenting, and it never really existed at all. And it's not canon. So, yeah, bunch of BS here. Let's see here. I thought the Grey Jedi Code BS was debunked a long time ago. It was. He's just going along with the theory because he thinks he has something. The water's turning the gray. Oh, yeah, I read that one. All right, so last thoughts here, you guys. What do you think? You know my thoughts about this Grey Jedi. I shared it here already. And I think this person, let me see who's the writer, and thank you for contributing the Hollow Files. Thank you for contributing to Cringe Factor. I didn't even play the clip, but that's okay. So this is created by George and Josh Bate. Are they the same? Are they a couple or what? Or brothers or what? But thank you, George and Josh, for contributing to Cringe Factor. So what do you think? We're going into mood savers here. Like if you're Sith, your blade's going to turn red. If you decide to go light, then it's going to be blue or green or purple. I can't wait to see what they break down with the green, the blue, and the purple, what they mean when it comes to emotions. And then if you're somewhere in between, it's going to turn silver or a grayish tone. Interesting, right? The Mood Saber era. The Mood Saber era. All right. Nerd Migos, we're getting ready to close here now, but go catch the replay, or at least rewind back to when we start talking about the Grey Jedi fully. You'll get a kick out of this. All right. But we're looking into morality. What's going on in modern days with morality, right? Does this reflect that? Because there's so many things that people want to be like, oh, well, make excuses for people's actions and stuff like that. That goes into that quote unquote gray morality. So here we go. So a reflection of modern times. Typical Disney shit lore. To me, this version of gray defeats the purpose of turning. If you can't just stay in the middle, what's the point of warning Force users about turning correct? It's like doing something horrible and saying, well, that's not my intentions. My intentions were really good to try to get off with what you did. Right? All right. Why? Her saber seems like a regular sword. Weird. Yeah, it looks like that, right? Gray morality like Tony Gilroy's masterclass writing. Yeah. All right. So this is just this gray morality in between is just like committing a crime and saying, oh no, my intentions were still good. I'm still a good person. It's like trying to come up with excuses. I absolutely hate mood ring kyber crystals. You're going to love this part of CAF Chat. Cheers to you, nerd amigos. Cheers to you. All right. With that being said, quick note. It's brief and talk, but you know, that rumor about Heir to the Empire being a movie coming out or an idea that Filoni is going to come up with and make and stuff like that. Stay tuned for that. I'm going to watch it further. It was just probably something that just came up again and now is going to disappear again until someone feels like it needs to be brought up again. So, but there's no confirmation on if Filoni is deciding something like that. And the Ahsoka movie is not that. It's not that. So with that being said, you guys, thank you for tuning in, hanging out, getting CAF Chat back on its regular schedule. And again, I'm sorry for even Cantina nights. My fucking mistake. My daughter's car was getting the new brakes put on. So it was at the dealership and I let my son-in-law and my daughter use my car. And I had left my laptop in the car in its bag. I forgot to take it out. It's one of the things I forgot to take out. And so I couldn't do anything. They were off on a date and stuff, and I couldn't get anything done to do a live stream because I didn't have my laptop on me and stuff. So that was a hit. And like the whole week was just a miss on going live in some way, shape, or form. It was a fucking weird week for that. But here we are. I'm back. So Lucas says, Visions is just Disney's Disney War Anime Edition. At least Infinity's toyed with the actual Star Wars and what if scenarios and stuff like this was more interesting than this acid trip Star Wars themed BS. Peace to you, Mike. Adios. And take care, everyone. So thank you again for hanging out. See you next week. Moving on in the timeline of New Jedi Order. Can't wait to get into it. Woo! All right. And then this next week, you know, of course, stay tuned for a Gatekeeper Alliance's schedule. I need to start putting one up here, getting everybody's schedule of streaming and just having it updated every week so you know where to go to. So Pierce Monday, and then he has his streams that he does with sharing the audiobook books, like clips or sections of that. So stay tuned for that. Of course, Melvin's schedule. Stay tuned for that. See what's going on with him and Grizzy. He's always doing at least videos or going live Sundays and so on and so forth. So stay tuned for that. And Tim, I think he's got his Sundays too now. So stay tuned for that. So I think I will talk with the guys and get their set schedule so that I can clip it up here and you guys know where to go to. All right, and with my schedule, again, like I said, my Thursday morning CAF chats, every other Saturday, Cantina nights, and then also Sunday arts and stuff. So stay tuned for that. I want to get that ball rolling. I feel like I'm out of that hurdle of life to where I can sit down and really commit. So thank you guys again, and have a good day, and I shall talk to you guys later. Let's play a clip here. What do I want to play? Let's do this.
I have fought the worst of all wars and witnessed the redemption of evil. I have seen balance restored to the Force. But order can turn to chaos, as it did when I was born. Now, with my loved ones and my loyal allies, I face a new challenge unlike any before. And I'm not sure at this time we can win.
Star Wars Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore, the first novel of the new Jedi Order.
Another happy landing.